If you see this eye watering, I'm not crying. And I don't want to get cut off in this water because it stinks. It's Friday, 1st of June. It's about 6 a.m. You've got to drive the van into Newton Abbott this morning to get the clutch done. I had a bit of a problem with the van on. I was up on Dartmoor last night before I came down to the pub, and I'd noticed that the water pump for the sink tap had stopped working, and I thought I could smell something burning. I checked underneath it. There's a sort of bus bar in the plastic bus bar with all these electrical connections underneath, and one at the end of the bus bar, the plastic over the bus bar had started melting and almost caught on fire. So I kind of wiggled around the wires around a bit. It's where I've been storing water containers, and it looks as though something's pushed some wiring together and shorted out. The pump's working again this morning. I'm going to check some of the other 12-volt stuff to make sure they're working. And I'll see if I can get these guys that are doing the clutch to have a quick look, because I know they do habitation checks, so I have someone comes in and do it. But I might have to take the van into where I bought it, either today or tomorrow morning, to get that checked out. Because obviously it's made me feel slightly nervous about the freaking van catching on fire, because it is charred and black. It's a little bit disconcerting, to be honest. You like to think that you can just get in your van and drive it, and the bus bar is inside a little cupboard, so you'd expect to be able to put stuff in there without causing electrical fires. So this kind of just shaking my confidence a little bit. I had it all turned off last night just in case there was an issue, but I'm just going to check some of the other 12-volt outputs, because I noticed my Christmas tree lights weren't actually working last night, but I think that's because they're plugged into a 3-pin socket that usually works on hookup. So I'm going to check some of these things through now and drive into Newton Abbott. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do for the day. I did think I might go off on a bike ride, long bike ride and a run, but I've been awake since about 4:30 this morning, and the same thing happened yesterday. And I feel quite tired, so I just don't want to push my luck with all these health concerns I've had recently. I just need to get through the next few days, and then I can start chilling out and really enjoying being in the van. So I think it's teething troubles, but it's just a pain in the ass, really. But anyway, we're committed now. I'm in the van, so let's sort it out. Right, so I've got a 12-volt feed to there, so that's okay. And I've got a 12-volt feed there. So it kind of looks as though everything's working all right. It's just that there has been a short. I thought it might have popped a fuse, but I don't appear to have, which itself is slightly unnerving. Yeah, well, I'll get these guys to look at it today while they're doing the gearbox, and I can always take it over to Highbridge Caravans to get them to have a little check on it as well. I don't want my van to catch fire, obviously. One of the things that surprises me about this van actually is how quickly it warms up. I think it's really quite well insulated, and it's been designed for kind of winter season use, for like ski snowboard seasons in Europe, on the continent. And it was about 16.5 degrees when I first looked at it at about 5 a.m. and it's like 18.5. So just by boiling the kettle, it sort of knocked it up a couple of degrees, and the sun's starting to come up, so you get a little bit of sort of solar gain in here, and it soon heats up. Yeah, it's funny, I feel a bit tired this morning, and everything feels a bit awkward and bumping into stuff and swearing a lot. I just want to get this frigging van sorted out and start enjoying being in it, instead of spending my first day getting a fucking gearbox clutch replaced. But it is what it is. I'm going to stop moaning and we'll get on with it. Yeah, so this is where I stayed last night. The Star Inn It's on the old Livington Road, on the way up to Haytor from the kind of Team Grace roundabout. So it's a Brit stop. I decided that it would be a cool place just to stop. It's a 10-minute drive into Newton Abbott from here. And I thought it'd be interesting to try a Brit stop first thing. So it's quite strange, really. You just sort of go in and introduce yourself. That, you know, this one you have to ring up beforehand and just double check that they've got a place. And yeah, so just sort of turn out, introduce yourself. They just sort of checked that I booked in and said, yeah, helps us. So I just bought they did a vegan dessert there, did it? There was vegan ice cream cherry sundae, which is not something I'd normally eat, but I thought it'd be nice to give them a little bit of money for letting me stay here. So, but it's a kind of expense you not want to keep your eye on, I suppose. But yeah, you know, nice people, very welcoming. Sat in the beer garden, chatted with a load of guys. There was I think it was an Austin Healey car meet in the car park. There were about 10 of them, and they were more interested in my motorhome than their own cars, which is quite funny, but a friendly bunch. So yeah, really interesting experience. Really nice to start that off. I do want to do quite a bit of wild camping, but obviously it just depends where you can do it, and you can't do that on Dartmoor. You're just not allowed to stay anywhere on the moor overnight. And you know, our wild camping is being threatened at the moment because of that lawsuit that's going through. But yeah, so my first Brit stop is quite nice to try one of these out early on, just sort of see what it is. So tonight, I think depending on what happens with the van, there's a pub called the Rugstone Inn in Widdicombe, and you can stay there free overnight if you eat there, apparently. And there's also the main car park, just tucked away behind the little shop there on the green. So if I can get there early enough, I think I might go and see if I can stay there overnight. I can always go in and have a quick chat with them, and then head back out onto the moor, go for a run or something. Depends what time things finish. I think I'm just going to go for a walk during the day today. I've got 7 hours to kill, but I'd like to go and check out the path that runs to Shaldon along the estuary. So I might get onto that and then jog into Shaldon. I don't know yet. I just see there's some other things I could do in Newton Abbott. Have a look around. I did some conservation work on a memorial there a few years back. It'd be interesting to see how that's looking. But yeah, today I'm just going to make it up as I go, and it's just going to be a steady start. I'm just reshooting this bit of video because I realised I had toothpaste down my face. Anyway, I've dropped the van off. There's going to be a bit of delay for about an hour, so I won't get it back till 3:30, 4 o'clock. There's a bit of an issue with, they can't deal with the electrical faults, so I'm going to have to call Highbridge Caravans, probably take it there last thing today or first thing tomorrow morning. And yeah, get them to have a look at it. I'm staying on Dartmoor tonight, so it's not an issue because it's not far away. But anyway, let's get these teething troubles out of the way nice and early. So I'm going to try and find a coffee and then make my way along the estuary path probably to Shaldon, do a bit of a run, maybe an hour, and make the day up from there. I'm starting to get some ideas about how, you know, some of the other themes of my my vlogs are quite likely to include architecture. It's quite interesting looking around Newton Abbott. There's some really beautiful buildings here. It's amazing in this morning. I did some conservation work on this monument a few years ago, and it hasn't fallen down, which is reassuring, although parts of it are sinking into the ground, I've noticed, since the repair work I did on it. But yeah, it's quite nice to see your work standing up after a few years. Right, found it. Found the path down to the river, and this should take me all the way to Shaldon and Timoth if I decide to go that far. Right, I finally have a plan. I've been awake since 4:30 this morning, and the same happened yesterday on the day of the moving into the van. And yeah, I just couldn't quite get my head into gear and work out what to do.
it's all been so much of a rush the last couple of days that, you know, normally I would have had everything kind of planned out the day before, and I would have been able to have, you know, worked out a nice bike run day or something like that. But yeah, there's a path called the Templar Way, which is a route that goes from, well, Haytor down to Teignmouth. So it comes down off Dartmoor, down through villages and through Newton Abbott, and then down to the coast. And it was a route where they used to transport big chunks of granite down to the coast and then put it onto ships. So yeah, years and years ago, a friend of mine and myself had planned to try and run it in reverse from Teignmouth all the way up onto Dartmoor as a training run, but it never came into fruition. We never really managed to do it. So I realised that today is an opportunity to do some of that. I'm gonna walk. It's about 6 from where the van is. It's about 7 miles each direction, and what I'm thinking of doing today is, but I'm gonna walk in one direction for so far, and then start running back at some point. Maybe just choose the bits that I really fancy running today. So I managed to get a coffee. I went to a chain coffee place, which is not somewhere I usually try and support if I can, but I realised that my phone didn't charge last night, and then on the drive here, for some reason it didn't charge, the cable's playing up or something. So I wanted to start the day off with a full charge on my phone, and then I found a second-hand bookstore that sold maps for the Templar Way based on OS map data, so I can work out where I'm going to go today. So it seems like a good use of my day. I think it's going to reach about 21-22 degrees air temperature today. It's going to be a lovely day, sunny, it's warming up. It just seems like a good use of my time. I've emailed Highridge Motorhomes, where I bought the van from, to see if I could get them to look at my van today. But the van won't be ready till about 4 o'clock because they're held up. So if I can't do that, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm planning to stay in another pub car park on Dartmoor. Don't worry that there might be lots of pubs involved. I don't drink alcohol, but it just seems a lot of them do put up bans if you spend a bit of money in their pub, have a drink or have some food. So I might get some food at the Rugglestone Inn tonight. But yeah, I was thinking earlier on, actually, as I was walking out here, that I have a very creative mind. I make music. I'm quite into art, and moving into the van is because it just gives so many opportunities to be creative, just in the way you live your life. And today is a perfect example of that. It's like, okay, I've got to sort out what to do for a day. Let's see what I can do. And you're thrown into that situation where you have an opportunity to explore lots of things. There are lots of really interesting shops in Newton Abbott. It's like there aren't many chain stores there. It's mainly like independent shops, and it feels like stepping back in time. But it's really nice to be able to put some money into the hands of people who run independent shops. Right. So there's a little footbridge here. I'm gonna find a hedge to have a piss in because the coffee's suddenly gone through to my bladder, and start enjoying the water. I'm just about to go under the dual carriageway under the A38, I think it is, to Torquay. So, and it's this section of the river and this section of path is one that I've often looked at quite fondly as I've been stuck in traffic jam heading to do work on the Abbey, Tor Abbey. So it'd be fascinating to actually do this section under the dual carriageway and actually see how lovely it is, and if it lives up to what I thought as I sat in those traffic jams. Okay, this section of the path is so nice, I decided to start running. So shortly after the going under the dual carriageway, you go down onto the banks of the River Tyne, and I'm actually running on quite damp sort of kind of banks here at the moment, and because this is obviously tidal, I need to be careful that I come back in time. I think it's 10 to 3 this afternoon, it's high tide, so I'm gonna have to kind of get there and turn around and come back quite quickly, I think, to make sure I don't get cut off. Otherwise I'm gonna have to kind of bash through some hedges and go inland, find my way to the nearest road or something. Okay, so I better push on. If you see this eye watering, I'm not crying. I am very happy today. It's just that I have a blocked lacrimal duct, and it means when it's quite cool, my that eye runs because it can't drain properly. It's not that urgent. Right, I just bumped into a local couple out walking on the river, and they said that yeah, this is low tide now. When the tide comes in, it comes in really quickly apparently, and if you don't give yourself enough time, it's quite easy to get stuck back just outside Newton Abbott. And yeah, the only way of getting out is kind of bashing yourself way through brambles and trying to get out into a field, which you don't really want to do. So I think I'm gonna probably run all the way to Shaldon and then either get a bus back or I'll walk back along the lanes, because I don't really want to rush this. Apparently there's somewhere up here I can get some food as well. So I want to make a nice steady day of it. And I don't want to get cut off in this water because it stinks. So I better keep going. It's getting a bit shitty here. Oh dear. Still under 2 miles into a 6 mile run, and it's taken quite a long time because it's just a bit tricky terrain and you have to sort of go in slightly in some of the inlets. It's very beautiful, it's really peaceful running along here. I've only met 2 people so far, but it looks as though there are a couple of little cut-off paths which take you back up the hill should you get cut off, so it must be quite a regular occurrence, I think, people getting cut off here. But, okay, let's push on. Just out of nowhere, this stuff is really slippery. I nearly ended up on my ass then. That's Shaldon up here on this side of the river, and Teignmouth is on the other side. So I should be there in about 10 minutes, which will make it about an hour and 25, something like that, which isn't bad considering all the stopping and starting with filming and just talking to random people. Okay, I've got a choice here of wet feet or muddy feet. Wet feet, I think. The signs actually take you off the banks of the river and send you up onto some lanes, some roads and paths, but another local person has just told me that you can run just below the seawall, and there are some steps by the road bridge, so I just had to go through a little water outlet up to my ankles or go through some mud, but I'm pretty sure I can get round. Okay, just reached the bridge, and then it's just sort of walk into the Shaldon village from there and find somewhere nice to have some lunch. I'm just going to take my time, and then, you know, I've got all afternoon to walk back to Newton Abbott. I think I'll probably just start walking back gently and then break into a bit of a jog if I fancy on the way back. But I am going to have to go around some of the lanes to get back. But you know, I've got all day. This is one of the parking spots, free parking spots, I was thinking of checking out. Right on the banks of the estuary, and I think you can get away with it with a small van, but I think my van would be too wide and end up blocking this road, unfortunately. But prime spot. So that turned out to be about 4.5 miles, and it took me about an hour and 35 minutes, something like that. Which seems quite a long time. I was stopping and starting with the filming, and it was quite tricky to negotiate some of that because it's quite muddy in places. But I think you could probably do it in an hour if you wanted to push it. I was trying to keep my heart rate down. Yeah, okay, let's find somewhere to get some lunch. It's 10 minutes to midday, and I'm just here at the mouth of the estuary. Teignmouth is the other side of the estuary here, so I'm on the Shaldon side. Just going to check my emails and see if I've heard anything back from the gearbox place or the motoring place to see what's happening with the van. And I'll probably make my way back fairly promptly. It depends. It'd be nice to hang out here a little bit, but I've got to think about the tide. Depends. I could just push my luck a bit and kind of walk halfway back and then take the lanes. I'll have to have a quick look at the map and see what's what. But I'm definitely chill. I've just managed to get a vegan pasty and a nice coffee from Lolly Bean Cafe. So it'd be nice to chill here for an hour. If I end up like rushing back, I'll be back in Newton Abbott by about 1 o'clock, and I'll still have 2.5 hours to kill, so I might as well stay here. And it'll be quite fun. It'll be quite fun to go back along the estuary as the tide comes in and see how far I can get. It would be good. world if I end up up to my knees in shitty water. It'd be ideal, but I've got a shower in the van, so I'm going to change clothes. So we'll see. Okay, I have spoken to the garage, and they're kind of looking into my issue. Talking about trying to book it in, but I think when your van's in danger of catching fire, I don't think you should need to have to book in. I want someone to look at it now, to be honest. But anyway, with regards to my trip back up the estuary, I worked out there are 6 different places along that route where you can peel off and pick up a back lane. So I'm going to just start walking back briskly, and I might break into a bit of a jog once I get moving. But I've got to let this vegan pasty go down. I don't usually eat pasties, but you know, I just can turn out a butternut squash pasty, and yeah, and it should be quite fun because I can just keep an eye on how high the tide's coming and then just decide which point to bail. But it's not 6 miles, it's about 4.5 miles, so there is somewhere to bail out about every 2/3 of a mile or something, so it should be fairly easy to decide when to come off, when to bail. I don't know, it should be fun though, and I don't need to rush back, so what else? Let's give it a go. Yeah, so I can already see that the water's come up quite a long way. I reckon there's that hotel about a mile away. I'm going to aim for that for now and review the situation there. I should be able to get to that all right. Now that would be a nice spot to work remotely on the banks of the river in my dreams. I'm just over halfway back now, and I'm this next section from Coombs I think it's about a mile until there's the next possible kind of bailout route, but the tide doesn't seem to be coming too quickly at the moment. I can always break into a bit of a jog if necessary, so I'm going to push on and see how far I get. Should be okay. Yeah, just passing another potential escape route. I think it's a private little track, but you know, if it was a life-threatening situation, I'd be able to nip up there. But from what I can see at the moment, I think I've got plenty of time. I think I'm going to be able to walk the whole way back. We're just coming up to that hornet's nest, so I'm going to nip by pretty sharpish, I think. I did a survey once in a place called Worley Place in Essex, and it's run by the Essex Wildlife Trust. And part of a big garden wall I needed to survey included a hornet's nest in a bush, and I was told that as long as you keep out of their flight path, the hornet's flight path, they'll ignore you. So if you watch them for a while and see where they're flying, if there's a direct route they're going, you just keep out of their way, and as long as you keep out of their way, they'll ignore you. So that's what I was told. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert, but if you ever come across a hornet's nest, obviously if you kicked it by mistake, you won't be in trouble, but it sounds like if you keep out of their way, you should be alright. Okay, I'm back at the quay now on the edge of Newton Abbott, and yeah, got back with no dramas. It's just after 2 o'clock, so it's about an hour before high tide. I kind of feel as though it would have been slightly more exciting if the tide had been higher, but you know, I got back safely, which is the main thing. I just did want to sort of mention, like, I feel it's my duty of care to say I'm kind of advocating people go out and have adventures. But I would like to say that even though this has been a really steady little walk up the estuary, I have kind of monitored the risks and, kind of tried to mitigate them. The work I do as an abseiling surveyor, we can't make mistakes abseiling on ropes. A mistake that causes like a rope failure, severing on a sharp edge or something, will be fatal, and that's something that's always taken into consideration in risk assessment. So in a way, I've been doing my own risk assessment during the day, and monitoring the tide, just keeping an eye on it, working out how long it is until the next point I could possibly bail out if the tide came up quickly. And I noticed quite quickly that if I did get caught out by the tide, there are loads of places that I could have scrambled up the bank, and it looked as though it opened out into fields. And from Google Maps, you could see that there were ways out. I also had this, that OS map that showed how to get out, failing everything, I could have climbed up a tree. I've got warm clothes with me. I've got food with me. So, and in any of the kind of adventures I do and pursuits, the thought of having to call out rescue services would be mortifying for me. I've always prided myself in being autonomous, and with things, races like the UTMB ultramarathons, you're up in the mountains, and the whole idea is that you're autonomous. You carry safety equipment with you. You have, bivy bags and things like that, so that if you have an issue, you are sound. So all these adventures I go on, I've put quite a lot of thought into planning them. I've got warm clothes with me. I've got some extra food. I've got my mobile phone, which is charged. I spent an hour sat in Costa Coffee this morning charging my phone up before I went. So what I would say is, please do go out and have lovely adventures, but do it safely. Just be safe out there. All right. So I'm going to walk into town and wait to hear back from the people who are replacing the clutch on the van. Just get that one ticked off the list, and then wait and see what happens with trying to prevent my van from catching on fire, which I also think is quite important. What a flipping day. I've got the van. I took it into Highbridge Motorhomes. They've had a look at the wiring. It looks like that burn may have been a historic thing, and they think that's why the connectors in there look new, and they don't look like Heimer connectors. They look like something that someone's done themselves, so there's possibly been a previous issue with burning. But they've been through and they've replaced a load of connectors and reassured me that everything's fine now. So that should be a worry I don't have to have anymore. But the gearbox felt weird to me. It felt as though it was still snatching gears on the way back to Highbridge. But one of their mechanics came out. He seemed to think the synchro mesh going from fourth to third was wearing, and they're prepared to, talk about potentially having the gearbox out and rebuilt, which will take at least 2 days. But what we've agreed is that I'll try it in the morning and see what happens first thing in the morning, see if it's better. But anyway, the positive side is that I'm in this really lovely car park in Widdicombe in the Moor. It's the main kind of tourist car park by the Green, and you can pay £5 to stay here overnight, which is an absolute bargain. I can't pay in the shop at the moment because it's closed, but it's still really warm here. I feel a little bit burnt. I've been out in the sun so much today, and I've been up since 4:30. I'm a bit knackered. So I'm just going to have a very chilled out evening, and I might go for a little bit of a walk when it cools down. I might go to the Rugglestone, but I've got a load of food in the van that I want to eat, so I don't think I'm going to pay for any food today. I've already spent quite a bit of money out and about. So I'm going to sign off for now and go and chill out, and hopefully the van will be okay in the morning. Trials and tribulations, but at least, even if I do have to get the gearbox done, I could probably wait for a couple of weeks and do it after I've been to Kent and I'm on the way to Wales or something. So And if I do have to have the gearbox done, then at least I have a recon gearbox. I don't really want to have to do any more with it. I just want to drive the thing and enjoy it, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm tired. I'm done.